the forgotten nation in the Bible. Have you ever wondered if your country is mentioned in the Bible? What if a nation in the East, an island nation, was chosen for a divine purpose? The Bible speaks of islands in the East that will glorify God. Today, one country stands out, the Philippines. With over 7,000 islands and a deeply rooted Christian faith, it is one of the strongest centers of Christianity in Asia. But here's the question: how did it get there? While many nations turned away from the religion of their colonizers, the Philippines embraced it and made it its own. And now, millions of Filipinos are spread across the globe, bringing their faith with them. In places where belief is fading, they continue to share it. Coincidence or something more? The forgotten nation in the Bible, the Serid mission everyone talks about. What if I told you there's a nation hidden in plain sight, possibly written about in the Bible? A nation in the East, a nation of islands, a nation that would glorify God. Sounds impossible, right? But look closer. The Philippines, over 7,000 islands and one of the most Christian nations in the world. A country thousands of miles from Israel, yet deeply rooted in biblical faith. And here's where it gets crazy. Millions of Filipinos are leaving their homeland, traveling across the globe into countries where Christianity is restricted or even fading. But they're not just working, they're spreading their faith quietly, consistently, powerfully. So ask yourself, is this just migration or is this a mission? Because if the Bible really was pointing to the islands in the East, then what we're seeing today might not be coincidence at all. The forgotten nation far beyond the lands of the ancient world, past deserts, empires, and familiar shores, the Bible speaks of distant islands in the East, places unknown to those who first heard the prophecy. For centuries, those words remained a mystery, until now. In the heart of Southeast Asia lies a nation of over 7,000 islands, the Philippines, a land rich in culture, resilience, and faith. A faith that endured. While other nations turned away from the beliefs of their past, this one held on and grew stronger. But the story doesn't end there. Today, millions of Filipinos have journeyed far from home into cities, countries, and cultures across the world. And wherever they go, their faith follows, in quiet gatherings, in acts of kindness, in lives that reflect something greater. It raises a question, one that challenges history, coincidence, and belief itself. Was this nation always meant for something more? Was it chosen to carry the light? The pattern of the chosen. The more you connect the dots, the clearer it becomes. Something extraordinary may be unfolding in real time. Because when you study the Bible closely, a pattern begins to emerge. God doesn't choose the obvious. He didn't choose Egypt, the superpower of its time, to carry out his mission. He chose a group of Hebrew slaves. He didn't choose a mighty warrior to defeat Goliath. He chose a shepherd boy named David. He didn't begin spreading Christianity through the empire of Rome. He started with fishermen, tax collectors, ordinary people, so why would it be surprising if he chose a small island nation in the East? God's way has always been different. He chooses the humble, the overlooked, the underestimated, and through them he accomplishes the extraordinary. So maybe, just maybe, he is doing the same with the Philippines. A mission still unfolding. What does this mean for us? It could mean that God's plan is far bigger than we've ever imagined, that a mission is still unfolding right now. And maybe wherever you are in the world, you are part of that mission too. So ask yourself, is this all just coincidence? Or could it be that ancient words like those in the book of Isaiah are coming to life before our eyes? The mystery of Ophir, Solomon's lost treasure. For centuries, one mystery has puzzled historians and theologians alike, the location of Ophir. A land so rich in gold that King Solomon sent ships to retrieve its treasures, a place of immense wealth yet lost to history. Some believe it was in India, others say Africa or even South America. But there's another possibility. What if Ophir was the Philippines? In the Bible, Solomon's voyages are described as returning every 3 years, bringing gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. This wasn't ordinary gold. It was known for its purity, its abundance. Now think about this. Long before colonization, the Philippines was already rich in gold. In regions like Luzon and Mindanao, indigenous communities mined gold from rivers and mountains, crafting intricate jewelry and ornaments. When Ferdinand Magellan arrived in Cebu in 1521, he recorded something astonishing. Gold was everywhere, not just among rulers, but even among ordinary people. A land of gold artifacts like the Surigao treasure reveal a civilization with advanced gold craftsmanship comparable to ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. So the question becomes, could this have been Ophir? Skeptics argue the distance was too great, but history tells us otherwise. Ancient Austronesian seafarers had already established vast trade networks linking Southeast Asia to India and the Middle East long before Solomon's time. And then there's one more clue, peacocks. They're specifically mentioned in biblical accounts of Ophir's trade, yet they aren't native to Africa, another proposed location. They are, however, native to South and Southeast Asia. Coincidence or connection? Let's piece it together. First, A, land rich in gold. Second, advanced ancient trade routes. Third, presence of peacocks. Fourth, voyages matching a 3-year timeline. Is this coincidence or something more? The real treasure? But here's the deeper question. Even if the Philippines was Ophir, why does it matter today? Because Ophir was never just about gold. Even King Solomon, the wealthiest king of his time, came to a powerful realization: wealth is meaningless without purpose. Today, the world still chases gold, money, status, power. But the Bible reminds us, gold fades, power shifts, wealth disappears. The true treasure is something deeper: faith, purpose, integrity, a different kind of wealth. So what if the Philippines' greatest treasure was never its gold, but its people? Today, millions of Filipinos are spread across the globe, not just as workers, but as carriers of faith. In the Middle East, in Europe, in North America, they quietly gather, pray, and share their beliefs. They may not look like traditional missionaries, but in many ways they are modern-day disciples, a spiritual battlefield, because the Bible reminds us the greatest battle isn't physical, it's spiritual. As written in the book of Ephesians, our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against unseen forces. And in this unseen battle, could the Philippines be on the front lines? A nation surrounded by different beliefs, yet standing firm as a stronghold of Christianity in Asia. The final question. So now we ask, was the Philippines the lost land of Ophir? Or is its true purpose something even greater, a nation not defined by gold but by faith, the nation tested by fire? If there is one nation that has been tested through fire and still stands strong, it is the Philippines. In 2013, Super Typhoon Haiyan, known locally as Yolanda, struck with unimaginable force. Winds reached nearly 195 miles per hour. Storm surges rose as high as 20 feet. Entire towns were erased, over 6,000 lives were lost, and millions were left homeless. The devastation was catastrophic, comparable to Hurricane Katrina in the United States. In many places, such destruction would lead to chaos, panic, and despair. But in the Philippines, something extraordinary happened. Instead of losing hope, people gathered in the ruins. They knelt in the debris. They prayed. Images spread across the world, survivors standing in shattered churches, singing hymns in the middle of destruction. The world watched in awe. This was a nation that refused to let go of its faith. They didn't just rebuild their homes, they rebuilt their churches first. What kind of people respond to tragedy like that? What kind of nation chooses hope after losing everything? That kind of resilience goes beyond culture. It is spiritual, a lone stronghold in Asia. When you step back and look at the religious landscape of Asia, something becomes clear. The Philippines stands alone. To the west, Indonesia and Malaysia, predominantly Islamic. To the north, China, where Christianity faces heavy restriction. To the east, Japan and South Korea, where Christianity exists but remains a minority. And yet, in the middle of it all, the Philippines stands as the only Christian majority nation in the region. That shouldn't be possible. By all odds, Christianity should have faded under the pressure of surrounding beliefs. But it didn't. It grew. It endured. It became a beacon of faith in the East. That's not just history, that's something deeper, a global movement in disguise. Now consider this, over 10 million Filipinos live and work abroad, spread across nearly every major country in the world. But they don't just bring their labor, they bring their faith. In the Middle East, where Christianity is restricted, Filipino communities quietly hold Bible studies and underground worship services. In Europe, where churches are closing, they fill empty pews and revive fading congregations. In the United States, they lead ministries, serve in churches, and strengthen Christian communities. They are not just migrants, they are missionaries, often without realizing it. They are spreading faith in places where traditional missionaries cannot go. This is more than migration. It looks like a mission, a spiritual battlefield. The Bible reminds us that the greatest battles are not physical but spiritual. And if that is true, then what we are witnessing today takes on a different meaning. A small island nation surrounded by different beliefs, tested by disaster after disaster, yet standing firm in faith. Does that sound accidental? Or does it sound like the kind of nation God would use? Throughout history, God has always chosen the unexpected, not empires but the humble, not the powerful but the faithful. So why not a nation like the Philippines? The bigger picture: if the Philippines is a spiritual stronghold, then the implications are profound. It means the battle is not just about nations or politics, but about faith. It means every Filipino working abroad could be part of something bigger: a nurse, a teacher, a caregiver, each one carrying light into places where it is needed most. And as faith declines in parts of the world, nations like the Philippines may be holding the line. The role of a city on a hill. Throughout history, God has used specific people and places to carry out his purpose. Some were great empires, others were small, overlooked communities that changed the world. So the question is, could the Philippines be one of them? In the book of Matthew, Jesus spoke of a city on a hill, a light that cannot be hidden. What if the Philippines is playing that role today? Not through power or wealth, but through faith. A nation that serves as a lighthouse, a launching point, a quiet force spreading belief across the globe, a new kind of missionary. When people think of missionaries, they often imagine preachers traveling to distant lands. But today, the picture is changing. Some of the most impactful missionaries don't stand behind pulpits. They work in hospitals. They care for families. They build cities. They live ordinary lives, but carry extraordinary faith. Filipinos are doing this every day, not through grand speeches, but through actions, kindness, and perseverance. Faith in a changing world. Across the world, something is happening. In many Western nations, church attendance is declining. In parts of Europe, once filled cathedrals now stand nearly empty. In other regions, believers face persecution. And yet in the Philippines, faith remains strong. Despite hardship, despite disasters, despite challenges, it continues to thrive. Could it be that this nation is being preserved for a purpose? The final challenge. If this is true, then the question becomes personal. If you are Filipino, could your life, your work, your journey be part of something greater? And if you're not, what can you learn from this kind of faith? Because in the end, this isn't just about one nation. It's about a mission, a calling, a light that continues to spread quietly, steadily across the world. So now the question is, will you be part of it?